This conference will now be recorded.
మొన్న నేను అంతా బయట పెట్టేసాను అందరికి మీరు పొద్దున్నలాగే
So guys, I'm going to build a CI/CD pipeline using AWS native tools. Okay. So for this, we are going to use code commit. What is code commit? Amazon's own repository. And I'm going to use code deploy, which is like a Jenkins. And then finally the pipeline. The pipeline is to which defines the entire stages, stage, build, whatever it is. Okay. These are the three things that I'm going to do. So we have a document here. Okay. So the whole purpose is to understand the flow. Okay. Forget about the code, what code we are using and all, but how do we build, how each of these components interconnect is what we are going to see. So in order to work now, the first thing is that we need a code commit repository. Okay. So get into management console, say code commit. Create repository, and let me call it, we'll go everything by name only. Okay, my demo repo. Okay, copy, paste it, create. You are signing in a root account. Okay, you cannot configure SSH for root account, and HTTPS connection for root account are not recommended. Consider using IAM user, no problem. Okay, it has been created. And next thing is I am going to clone it. In order to clone it, I need to have git install my local machine, right? So I don't want to do that. Now I know this machine is very slow and it will take so much of time. But what I'll use is I will use one of the AWS own IDE, I mean a terminal where you can do all of the settings, okay, which is called Cloud9. Cloud9 is an online code repository. Where are you? You are in Mumbai. Okay, let me get into North Virginia, guys. Code commit. Create repo. Let me call it my repo. Create. Next. So did I create this one? This is not Virginia. Fine. Now go back. This time I'm going to use Cloud9, which is online IDE. Create environment. I'm going to name it as CI/CD. And then next step, create a new instance for this environment, or else, and the T2 micro instance, it uses 1 GB RAM and 1 chip. That should be fine. Which is Amazon Linux. Next, and finally, create environment. Now it will create IDE for me, where I can do all this Git cloning and everything within the Amazon account itself. I don't need any laptop now. Like every time when I log in, I need to have a key pair and to power on instance, create instance. Now it is one thing that will be available for me at any point of time. Okay, it is created, and see, this is my environment. Now I will say sudo su hyphen where I'll become root. Okay, m install git. Git is already there. See? Okay. Now next thing is cloning the repository.
You don't have to use cookie.
You don't have to.
And keep it? No, sorry. Keep it.
Nothing. Nothing is there. It is already integrated with your account. Copy it. Clone. Make sure you have the correct access rights. Okay. Okay. I'm doing as
You have one.
root log root log is
I need to
another.
use
Yeah. Then no problem. What I'll do, I have this zip file. Okay, let me. What is the other thing I can do? I should have done this with. What should I do now? Oh, ఇది మనం చేసింది కదా, సంథింగ్ దట్ వి డిడ్.
I think it might demo అయిపో కదా అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనం తీసుకుంది might
Where am I here? Copy HTTP. Yes. US hyphen east hyphen one. Okay. Copy. Okay, now it is asking for username. Okay, get into IAM. Earlier it was SSH, and by default the root account doesn't have SSH access. It is only IAM. I'm not even sure if the root account has. Okay. Where is the credentials box? It is asking for, right? Can I have your username? UD AY VK T password capital IN IN AMAZON, unable to access this request URL 403. Uday VK 36@gmail.com. Password in Amazon @123. Okay, fine. Let me do one thing. Add user. Let me call Shiva. Console access. Custom password. Next. That's one drawback with cold commit. It doesn't support the root user. First, I try to do. Okay. And dashboard. Customize. Uday in Amazon. Sign out. Management console. UD EY in Amazon. Shiva. Okay. Code commit. Repositories I have it. Okay. Let's get into Cloud9. Now things will work. So here, copy, USID is, huh? HTTPS. Now I need to initialize again Cloud9 for this specific user. Okay. Now it is asking for credentials, right? Now I can get the credentials. అదే నేను డౌన్లోడ్ చేసేది. I'm getting the code from Amazon first, the sample code. This is not working. It has to be public repository. Let's unzip. So here is our code, guys. Okay, and rm hyphen rf. So these are the files. One is app.sample index license.x scripts. దీంట్లో ఫైల్స్ అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి. ఇది చిన్న మన కోడ్ అనుకుందాం, రైట్? మనకి జెంకిన్స్ లో అయితే ఎలాగో పైప్ లైన్ అనే ఫైల్ ఉంటుందో ఇక్కడ ఏముంటుంది, యాప్ స్పెక్ డాట్ వైఎంఎల్ అనే ఫైల్ ఉంటుంది, విచ్ విల్ హ్యావ్ ఆల్ ద స్టెప్స్, ఏమేమి అవ్వాలి అనేసి మొత్తం ఇక్కడ రాసి పెట్టుంటాం అనమాట, విచ్ ఇస్ రిటర్న్ ఇన్ అగైన్ AML ఫార్మాట్. నా ఐ హ్యావ్ వన్ రిపోజిటరీ క్రియేటెడ్ ఇన్ నార్త్ వర్జన్ విచ్ ఇస్ మై రిపో. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు నా లోకల్లో ఉన్న కోడ్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో నేను వీటికి పంపించాలి. ఇప్పుడు నేను ఐ వాంట్ టు సెండ్ ఇట్ టు హియర్. హౌ వుడ్ ఐ డూ ఇట్? సో కాపీ ది లింక్ and what I would say, where is my cloud9 ls git ముందు ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేయాలి కదా, git init initialize empty repository, and if you say git status, see these are the files that I need to add. Then I would say git add hyphen all, and then git commit hyphen a hyphen m commit 1. Done. Git status, everything looks good. Now I want to send these repositories to my repo. For that we need to have a remote repository, right? And let's say git remote hyphen v. Do we have anything here? No. Then I would say git add remote origin okay, git remote add, not git add remote, git remote add origin another name plus my repo. It is added. Now verify git remote hyphen v. You have this link. Now you have this code. I'll push it. How do I push it? Git push origin master is asking for username. I have my username, right? This is my username, and it's asking for password. This is my password. It is now sending the files. 98%. Done. Just refresh the page and you should see the files copied to this specific repository. Got it? Now I have this, and you have all the steps here: git add, git push, all this. Next thing is to create a code deploy agent. Code deploy is like what? Code deploy is like uh, your Jenkins server. Okay. Code deploy, get started, create application. So follow the steps here. Go to dashboard. Now before that, first we need to create a role. What is the purpose of role? What is the purpose of role? Create role. Role will allow your services to talk to other services. Where do you find code deploy? Yes. Code deploy. Next. We have only one policy here. Next. Next. Polish. Code deploy. It is created. So open IAM from the roles. Choose role. EC2. Choose a service that will use the role. Okay, you select EC2 and then next permission. Select. Okay. Create role EC2 Now I'm giving admin access full permissions. Otherwise, you can just look out for this, which is this one. Next, review EC2 for code deploy. Create role and launch instance. Next is that launching instance. By launching the instance, we'll give those roles to the server so that they can view it. Next is EC2 launch Amazon Linux P2 micro. Here in the select IAM role, you will have what EC2 for code deploy. Then this EC2 instance will be able to talk to our code deploy server for deploying the code and all. And next here, while deploying, we need to install the agents, code deploy agents. And here is the code. Copy, paste it. Add security groups name, right? Let me call it CD code deploy. Security groups for now, I would create code deploy SSH, and I'm allowing all traffic for temporary reasons. Review, launch, and key pair. Choose a new key pair. Code deploy. Download. And then finally launch instance. Review. So the instance are being provisioned. I provision only one instance now. Now create an application in code deploy. Now go back to code deploy application. This is where we're creating now. While creating this application, we will give this instance as a agent for my code deploy to run all the jobs and all. In the code, an application is resource. Okay. We already did this. Next permissions. My demo application name. And then compute platform EC2 on premise. Create application. Now next thing is to create a deployment group. Choose deployment group. Deployment name, my deployment group. Create deployment group. Deployment group name, my deployment group. Role, we have deployed code deploy role as well, right? That will come in place. There are basically two types of upgrades available. One is the most widely used in production is blue-green deployment. So blue deployment is like, in this case, they have two environments that are running simultaneously. One is called as a pre-prod. Another is called as a production. So before they send anything to production, they will first update what? Pre-prod. If everything is working fine, they will make this blue environment as a green environment. How do they do it? They just remount or remap the DNS names. It takes some downtime, but they'll remap it. So instead of going request to this, now the request will go to this N1. Once they're coming here, then they'll make green as blue, and they start applying patches on that. Okay, that's how they do it. But that's not what I want here. I'm going for in-place upgrade. Okay, and it is Amazon EC2 instances and name. What is the name that we gave? CD, right? This is the name that we have created or gave to our virtual machine, isn't it? CD. one unique match instance. There is one instance available, and it is showing you the instance, right? And deploying settings, deploy default all at once or deploy half of it. Like say suppose in our case I have only 10 instances. Now if I select code deploy default all at once, is that all at once in sense 10 will be upgraded in a single go, but one at a time. Out of 10, first it will upgrade one, then 9. Once one is done, next go to the second one, third one, fourth one, like this it will go. Okay. So in our case, it is asking us for what? In place, default, one at a time. That's what we have selected. One at a time. Load balancers, we don't need load balancer. Enable load balancing in advanced, select alarms. Okay. Classic load balancer. We don't have load balancer now. I don't want this. Okay. And advanced settings, alarms, I'm giving as it is, and then create a deployment. So now this deployment group uses that specific instance for running all the jobs. Like in Jenkins, for running a what we call Docker environment. What are we having? We have a Docker slave. If you want to run a Maven, we have a Maven slave. If you want to run a .NET, we have a .NET. So now code deploy will use these instances to run specific jobs based on the repository that you're actually using. Next thing is create your first pipeline in code pipeline. Now home, go to code pipeline. Here it is, code pipeline, getting started, create pipeline, and I'm going to give my pipeline name. I'm going to call it my first pipeline. And the role, new role, it will create automatically the role whatever is needed for pipeline to run. Advanced settings, service role, new role, in the artifact store, default location, and choose next. Source provider, choose AWS code commit and the repository name, like wherever is our repository is available. Now the moment you say code commit, it will give you all the repositories, my repo, which has our code in it. Branch, I'm going to use master. And here, this is for triggers. Choose one of the code repository, branch name, and choose master and choose next step. CloudWatch events only. And the build provider, whether it is Jenkins server or code build. We have a code build, North Virginia, whatever the, okay. Why is this not coming? We'll select the repository name, branch, and code, the change direction, the code pipeline events to this. We created this application, right? Did we create application? My demo application, we create our leather into instance. This should pop up. My deployment group. This is different. Application name, my demo application ఉంది కదా ఇక్కడ ఎందుకు రావట్లేదు రిఫ్రెష్ లేదా okay, let me go back, create a pipeline, my first pipeline, code commit, my repo, branch name master, next, build. Why it is not showing? Mhm. Okay, we are actually skipping this here. Skip build step, skip, and then deploy provider. Let's code build. Who is deploy provider? Code deploy. ఇక్కడ వచ్చింది ఇది. Okay, my deployment. Understood. Create pipeline. It is now building, guys. It is done. Deployment is also done. Now, copy this. Okay, we did automatically. Now, what I'll do, we have our, what is that? Where's Cloud 9? Here it is, right? Now, what I'll do is, I'll change the code. I'll commit here. The moment I commit, what will happen? It will has to deploy. Okay. To verify the pipeline is successful, view the initial progress of the pipeline. Modify the code in your code repository. Just do some modifications, and then push. It has to update automatically. Now, ls vi index.html. This application is deployed via HTML. For deploy. I am committing the code to test the pipeline, and then say git status. There is one file modified, and say git add index.html, git commit -a -m, modified index.html. Then finally what? Git push. Okay, git push master. It is asking for what? Username. I think I closed that, right? Rala. Okay, I'll have to recreate again. Users Shiva security credentials. So one user can have like two things, two times. Copy, paste. And it's asking for password. Copy, paste. The moment we commit the code now, the pipeline has to trigger. Now it is trigger. Fine. Done. Now where is this thing? Got it. So like this, seamlessly, whatever you do, it will just uh, commit the code as and when we do. So when something fails, okay, you will have to troubleshoot them like why it is failing. Mostly the things will fail because maybe there is no right permissions to build it. Okay, all of those things. Two success, two things I have done. This is our application. This is one of the web. Like this, for different applications, for different projects, we create different pipelines. One will can be integrated with ECS, other can be integrated with Lambda for automatic scaling and all. And all of this we write where all of this is coming from. I'll show you. Where is our code pipeline, not code pipeline source, repositories, this file, which is appspec.yml. It says version, OS is line, file, source is what? Index.html, destination is /var/whtml. This is a step that I'm doing, right? It could be anything. And before installation, location of the scripts here, start it, and the application start. So here if you see here, uh, script start server, script stop server, all of this, and these scripts are available here for you. You get the scripts. start server. Next is install dependencies. M install HTTPD script. Where are we defining this? And then start server, systemctl start HTTPD. And these things you are defining where in your abstract. OS version is this. Location script install dependence. Script is it automatically execute this. Timeout for running this is written. And run as what? Root user. After it is installed, next thing is what? Start the server. So anything that you want, you are going to put it in the pipeline. There is one more thing, guys, which is very, very good, but I don't see that here. Four-stage pipeline is good thing. So you will see all the stages. So whatever you see here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Source, build, deploy, pipeline. Prerequisites. This is the sample code. Code pipeline, Jenkins, AWS. This is for Windows. Here is a code, guys. Zip file. You can just work on it. Yes, sir, Ajay. Try to do this. కొన్ని questions will let you know. ఇదేంటంటే థర్డ్ పార్టీ జెంకిన్స్ నుంచి మనం ఇంటిగ్రేట్ చేయడానికి అంటే ఇప్పుడు కోడ్ బిల్డ్ చూస్తాం కదా అలా కాకుండా జెంకిన్ సర్వర్ ఉంటుంది జెంకిన్ సర్వర్ నుంచి టు డిప్లాయ్ థింగ్స్ ఇంటూ AWS. This is what this four-stage pipeline is. Something else, guys? Anything else? So this is how the pipeline works. But the most important thing is we can integrate like EC2 instances standalone. The other is ECS. What is ECS? ECS is a container services where you deploy your code and all. And the next thing is Lambda. Lambda is a serverless concept. So first, everything you need IAM roles, EC2 instances where your build jobs are going to work, and then followed by the code commit where you put the code, which has a app spec.yml, which will have all the steps what is it has to do, and then build. Now we are not building it. So build in the sense if you are using Maven and all, you can use build there and then deploy. But for this, in these steps has to be defined where in the app spec.yml file. Okay. And set up a build server. So you have all the steps for building a, Jenkins server on top of AWS. Easy to instance, connecting to it, executing this. Try to this four-stage pipeline today. Okay. All you have to do is that follow the steps. That's it. And again, stuck it, then we'll see how to do that. And tomorrow I'll start Grafana monitoring code. How to monitor things and all. Anunaya, anything else? About 53 ఉన్నాయి కదా ఇప్పుడు కవర్ చేస్తాను. Okay, anything else, guys? But the whole concept is understanding the pipeline. Okay, what steps we are doing, don't bother about that, but understand how each component is integrating with the other components, because the test cases will change, the code will change, the commands that you execute will change from project to project. But what remains the same is the flow. From Git, it goes to build server. From build, it goes to integration server. Like within the build, what are the steps that we are actually working on? These are very important. But the code, some may use .NET code, some may use Python code, some may use normal any other code, right? Node.js, React.js, whatever it is. But the commands that we use for them to build is different. Every time we cannot go and say MV and clean install package, right? That is only for Java code and Maven when you're using. If you're using and, the commands will change. If you're using Gradle, the command will change. Okay? But what you should know, where which option has to be used is what you need to understand. Okay? I'll stop here. Go back and all everything is out here. Follow this. Don't miss even one line when you're practicing it. If you miss even one line, things will be confusing. Read line by line, step by step, do everything what they say. Okay, then it will be easy.